We will deploy at least initially up to 500 members of the Mississippi National Guard, with the expectation that it is possible that those numbers will go up. We obviously are going to deploy them when it is safe to do so in various communities, and want to make sure that they are prepared to do that. While I'm talking about the Mississippi National Guard and them being engaged to work with our state emergency management team as well as our local emergency managers, let me remind everyone, particularly to those who have the cell phone numbers of the top leadership at the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency or at the governor's office or even myself, that there has to be a chain of command in this storm recovery. There has to be a chain of command in every storm recovery. And the best way for local officials to get what they need is to work with their local emergency managers at the city and or county level to make sure that they are utilizing the system to request whatever their needs may be. As you may know, there are currently 48 counties that have damage reports, and of those 48 counties, as we mentioned yesterday, at least 37 of them either have had or continue to have ice on them. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of logistics that has to take place as we try to respond to each and every challenge. And the best way for you to get whatever you might need quickly is to do so by asking for it through the proper channels, and that is through your county emergency management director. The people here at MEMA can respond and get the assets where they need to be most quickly when that particular chain of command is followed. In terms of official damage reports, today was the first day where we really started to receive assessments from around the state. We have 14 major damage assessments on individual residential property, 3 minor damage on individual residential property. We have 1 major damage assessment damage report filed for a business, and we have approximately 20 assessments done for public roads major damage. The Department of Transportation will be reviewing that, obviously, as they are out and about. In terms of shelters and or warming centers, we currently have 61 shelters and warming centers located all throughout the state of Mississippi. Those 61 warming centers are located in 30 different counties throughout the state. In addition to that, we have web EOC requests. Again, that's the actual system that I was talking about earlier, where the various needs need to be input. We have 33 counties that have made a total of 136 requests. Our team at MEMA is analyzing each and every one of those, and we want to make sure that we prioritize them and we get unmet needs met as quickly as possible. I mentioned yesterday, and I will say again with respect to the federal government, again, as a reminder, all of these recovery efforts have to be state-managed, locally executed, and federally supported. I spoke earlier today with the Secretary of Homeland Security. She offered whatever we need. We have FEMA assets on the ground. We appreciate that. We are working closely with them as we have in the numerous disasters that have occurred during my administration, and we will continue to do so. The requests that we have made to our federal partners include, as I mentioned yesterday, up to 36 generators were requested yesterday. We have 30 of those that are either situated in our state today or will be situated by close of business, and we have requested and will receive an additional 30 generators, such that we will have as many as 60 hopefully by the close of business today, half of which we've already received. We have also sourced bottled water, MREs, cots, blankets, and tarps from our federal partners, and we are receiving those as it is safe to do so. We have and are utilizing Camp McCain for the logistics. We have already housed a number of federal personnel as well as linemen there at Camp McCain, and as we call in more and more National Guardsmen, we will utilize that facility as well. We have already actually had a mission assignment entered into by the Department of Public Safety in Bolivar County that we have sent additional personnel from DPS to Bolivar County, and that mission has actually been completed. As we look to the future, we know that we have a lot of work ahead of us. I said this yesterday, that I was afraid that it was going to get worse before it gets better. That was true yesterday, and with the temperatures getting to where they're going to get tonight, particularly in the north part of the state, that may still be true today. Not only that, we do expect that temperatures should get above freezing in most of the state tomorrow with sunny skies. But I can tell you that just because the temperature is a few degrees above freezing with sun doesn't necessarily mean that all the ice is going to be gone immediately. It's going to take a little time, but we do see a window of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of potential to get a lot of resources out to the counties. But we also have challenges in that it appears at this time there may be another front coming in to the state sometime around the weekend with very low and frigid temperatures, and we will be dealing with that as well. So again, we've got a lot going on. We're doing a lot of work here. We're sourcing a lot of potential things for each individual county that has requested it, and we will continue to do so. At this time, I'm going to ask the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White, to give us a brief update on road and what's going on with his group. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Governor. Our challenge continues to be ice and trees, and then trees that have power lines entangled in them. The MDOT teams are working with some power companies to utilize a systematic approach at addressing this. As the governor said, it looks like we're going to have about a 3-day window where weather will be cooperative and hopefully will be our best friend in trying to get out. As we said, the best thing for treating ice is sun and above freezing temperatures. But we are mobilizing crews now from our central Mississippi and south Mississippi areas, sending them into the northern part of the state and into the Delta to help offer support to the crews that have been working there. I do think it's important to remind people that today was day one after this event. As we move into the next few days, to give you an idea of what we're facing in the affected area, the Delta, North Mississippi, we're looking at just with the state transportation alone. This is not counting city streets, not counting county roads, but in the state transportation system alone, over 15,000 lane miles throughout the area that were being impacted. In that same area, you're looking at over 3,000 bridges that we've been treating and that we've been trying to keep from freezing over. Over the weekend, with a crew of about 500 maintenance workers, we've logged over 20,000 man-hours. We've provided over 200,000 gallons of brine, over 1,000 tons of salt. We'll be adding another 100, 150 employees to that in the coming days. This has been the biggest pre-treatment and treatment efforts that the department has ever done for a storm of this size. And I think it's also important to note that winter weather such as this that we've seen in some areas of the state is not the normal situation for Mississippi. But hopefully over the course of the next 3 days, Mother Nature will cooperate with us. We'll be able to work with the power companies and begin cutting through some of the areas now that remain to be closed. Our goal has been to keep the interstates, the 4-lane highways, the major 2-lane highways with commercial traffic and others passable. And I point out that word passable. That's a lot different from saying it's safe. I think it's still very important for the people that live in these affected areas to recognize that the best thing they can do is, if at all possible, to stay home unless travel is just a must, because the roads are still in a dangerous place until we can get the weather and the resources deployed to try to open that up. But that gives you a report, Governor, for where we are right now.
Thank you, Brad, at this time, I'm going to call on Mac McCraney, head of the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, to give you an update from this particular place where we find ourselves.
Thank you, Governor. Just want to let you know that MEMA is still coordinating with all 82 counties and the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians, which are in 13, 14 counties themselves. So that is the process. Every time we practice or we train, there is Web EOC. That is how we get requests in from the locals. And then when they ask, we need 3 generators. Okay, well now we've got to come back and ask if it's not, is it a 110, is it a 240, 440, triple phase, single phase? So those are the things that we're actually verifying. The National Guard as well has got some teams that are going to be accompanying us to be able to actually dive down and say, what is it you really need at this point? We know the wants. We know we need to get things back online. We're working with the power companies. This is some things that we do. Every single entity, every state agency, every asset that comes into the state, they coordinate with the State Emergency Operations Center, where we happen to be having this speech right now. So to be able to get those things in, we work it from this level. When somebody asks for a generator, the first thing we do is call the power company. How much longer till you can get this back online? If it's quicker than I can drive up there or take a generator up there to them, the Adjutant General was able to let us use Camp McCain, which puts us further a location into the state. So it's going to make our response time even slower with some of those things that we've got to get out to the public and get to those local entities. So as of right now, we're going through our call list each and every day, every impacted county. Those emergency managers tell us what you need, tell us what you don't have, tell what's been solved, and we're working through each and every one of those at this time. And that is the most important thing that we do at that local level, where the impact is. Today, I think I was driving back from Copiah County. It was 28 degrees, the sun was shining, but I know there was ice if I went north of 55 and I started hitting Madison and those other counties up there. So please stay off the roads if you can. Let the emergency personnel do their job. Let the linemen do their job. Because they don't need the traffic on the roads that are already dangerous for them. That is some of the biggest issues that we have is people are sightseeing. Sightsee from your front door. Don't drive around a county, because then we're dealing with another accident, another call for service. The local responders, fuel is one of those things we're trying to put fuel in each and every vehicle out there that's a public safety need, and getting those up there. National Guard is going to be able to bring on some of those assets as our private vendors were able to do. So that's the update this time, and I'll be ready for any questions at the end.
Thank you, Mac, and I will turn it over to General Ginn, the Adjutant General of the Mississippi National Guard. As I mentioned earlier, he has been planning for the potential for deployment for almost a week now, and I did sign the executive order just a little while ago for him to now deploy assets. So, General Ginn.
Thank you, Governor. Like the Governor said, we started planning about a week ago with all of our units out there, and we're prepared now to go ahead and mobilize about 500 servicemen and women tomorrow. We'll bring them into their armories, we'll rally them, and kick them out. We mostly going to be FSCs, which is forward support companies, which have a lot of logistical capability within those units. Also, we'll have some aviation units as well. We'll probably stage them out of Camp McCain and probably out of Tupelo, Mississippi as well. Again, from debris cleanup to traffic control, we're going to build this task force, and without a doubt, we'll get everybody headed toward our Tactical Operations Center, which will be based out of Camp McCain, and then from there we'll kick out to some of the different armories within Mississippi, no doubt Tupelo, Oxford, that area, maybe even the Corinth Armory as well. So anyway, I foresee us getting on the road by tomorrow afternoon and being fully mission capable, fully operational by Wednesday morning. So pending any questions, that's all I have, Governor. Thank you.
Thank you, General Ginn. Again, I said this yesterday. I'm just going to reiterate it today. Ice storms are different than virtually any other type of storm that we deal with. And it's particularly different when you see the ice come in and then 48 hours or so after the precipitation leaves, the temperature has still not gotten above freezing, and therefore it creates challenges in terms of getting assets deployed, and that's where we find ourselves today. Is we are trying to make sure that we can time this to get resources wherever they are needed as quickly as is humanly possible, but to do it in a safe way so that we don't put more Mississippians in danger. So again, we've got a team that has been working on that now for the last 4 to 5 days, and will be continuously prepared to make progress with respect to that. So again, I'll conclude by simply saying thank you to all of y'all who are working around the clock, our local officials, our state officials, our emergency first responders, and we will get through this, but we're not going to get through it today, and we're not going to get through it tomorrow. This is going to take time, and particularly where there are power outages. We have seen the severity of this storm. Most of us have seen the size of this storm and how many different states across the country have been affected by it. I believe the president signed an initial disaster declaration that included about 12 to 14 states. I believe there were 30 states potentially impacted. And just to put things in perspective for you, there's currently 750,000 homes across the country without power. Over 1 in 5 of them, over 20%, are here in Mississippi. We reached a peak of about 180,000. That has now down below 150,000, but it's somewhat like whack-a-mole. Every time one of the utility companies and power companies gets a large group back online, we have another tree fall, or we have another limb fall, or we have another power outage. And so we've seen a lot of that over the last 24 to 48 hours. It doesn't mean that people aren't working very hard and doing it in a safe way. It's just a challenging environment out there. So again, I'm not going to stand up here and ask anybody for patience, because I don't blame you to not have patience, particularly if you don't have power right now. I'm just telling you, it is going to take some time to get all of the power restored and to get the roads clean, and it's just going to take more time than any of us would like for it to. This is the fact of where we find ourselves. So with that, I'll answer any questions. We'll start with someone from online.
Jeff Amy with AP has a question.
Good afternoon, Governor. There are reports that some water utilities in northeast Mississippi are not able to supply water because they have run out of power. Do you have any idea how extensive that is?
Yeah, well, Jeff, it's been a long time since I've had to answer a question from you, but I do appreciate the question. Hope you're doing well. I will tell you that there are certainly reports of rural water systems. My expectation is that those rural water systems, for the most part, had generators in place, and in some instances, those generators failed. And so we are assessing that as we speak. And again, part of when we're talking about the potential for deploying generators, everyone probably initially thinks, well, we can get a generator for our house. Well, that's not at all what we're talking about. We're not deploying generators to individual residences. We are deploying generators based upon need and based upon priority at long-term care facilities where there are hundreds of elderly people and more vulnerable people living, where maybe they had a generator that failed or was not properly maintained, or whatever the issue may be. We'll deal with what caused it later. We're trying to save as many people as we can. How widespread it is, which I think was your initial question, is yet to be determined. But I would not be surprised if it were not accurate that some of the water systems are having struggles, again, largely because the power that they utilize for pumping stations, et cetera, is not being delivered right now. Now, we're hopeful, and again, that's where, as Max said earlier, we're trying to assess and coordinate for a particular water system that may be without power. Is the power company going to get that power back on soon? And if so, they may be able to get the water back on before we could even get a generator deployed to them. And so, again, we've got an entire group upstairs working on these issues, and as we progress forward, we'll give you an update as we have them. Yes, sir.
I know, you got some damage reports today, but like, are you able to put in perspective, like, how bad it was compared to the other ice storms we've had since the 90s? Like,
Yeah, so the question is, how bad is it now compared to the 90s, or the storm in the 90s? As you all know, we had a major ice storm in 1994. We had a freeze and a cold weather event in 2021 as well. And so we actually, a lot of us up here dealt with that. What I would tell you is we don't know for sure yet how this particular storm compares to 1994. But we also know that in 1994, there were some customers who literally went weeks and weeks without power. Again, I can't tell you with certainty that we're going to be in the same situation this time as we were in 1994, but I can tell you with certainty that it took a lot of customers get turned back on in 1994, and this storm in general is similar in size, and in fact maybe on the southwest part of the state went even further south than this particular storm did. We did dodge a bullet because here in the central Mississippi area where there's large population centers in Hines, Rankin, and Madison, we haven't seen the large number of power outages that we see in other parts of the state. DeSoto County is not reporting significant and large amounts of power outages. Another huge population center just south of Memphis. It appears, got mostly snow, not entirely, but mostly snow, which is a completely different animal to deal with than is a couple inches of ice. So we'll have to get all the damage assessments in before we can compare the size and enormity of one storm compared to another. But I will tell you, it's really bad in a lot of the more rural parts of North and Northeast Mississippi. Yes, sir.
To what degree are the Guards members who are going to be deployed, will they be able to offer logistical support in the damage assessment and restoration of the power grid, just lines?
Well, look, the restoration of the power lines is largely going to be done by the power companies, the rural electric power authorities, the Entergy, TVA for transmission. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have a whole bunch of Mississippi National Guardsmen that are waiting to go and put up poles and things such as that. So they're going to be primarily focused on logistics and getting resources to where they need to be. And General Gann, you want to?
That's exactly right, Governor. We'll be focusing on logistics mainly, getting water, food, distribution points, whether it be by wheel vehicles or by air if need be, generators by air if need be, primarily focused on that. And the delivery vehicles will be 10-ton Hemet wreckers, Hemet tankers, providing fuel, which are 10-ton vehicles that are large vehicles that carry, for example, large amounts of cargo and large amounts of fuel. So that's where we'll primarily be working on. So, Governor.
Yeah, and just to, look, I've gotten every question you can imagine from friends all over the state today. You should not expect to see a lot of Mississippi National Guardsmen with chainsaws helping individuals cut their way out of their driveway. That's not likely going to occur. You probably shouldn't expect to see a lot of Mississippi National Guardsmen in uniform up on light poles putting the lines back in order. There are relationships, there are groups from out of state that will come in and are already here, have already been stationed here, that have certainly contracts with the actual utility providers that are responsible for it. And so the number of linesmen in Mississippi today and over the next week or so is going to be significantly greater than what these companies are accustomed to because of these compacts that they have in place. Just like if this major damage had occurred in West Virginia, a lot of our linemen, and we had got nothing, then a lot of our linemen would be in West Virginia helping them. So it is a unique skill that is required to get the power up and running. That is a skill that I do not personally have, and a skill that we do not personally have built up within our team. But the good news is these compacts and these relationships from one utility company to another, there will be a huge surge into Mississippi, but even so, they can't all get here. We pre-positioned a large number of them that are already out and about working. Some of them are working to get here now, and that will continue to occur in the coming days.
Catherine Lynn with Mississippi Today has a question.
I was wondering if the number of generators coming from FEMA will be enough, or if you anticipate needing more.
Well, yesterday I told you that we had requested 30. Today we have received 30. We are anticipating getting an additional 30 tomorrow, and so that will be 60. What I would tell you to answer that question is we can't really answer whether or not 60 will be enough, because a lot of that depends on the coordination as to exactly what the needs are, exactly how long it's going to take certain rural electric authorities and TVA and Entergy and other power providers to get the power back on in various counties. And so we will, what I can assure you of, if the 30 we receive by close of business today is not enough, and the 30 that we receive by close of business tomorrow is not enough, we will ask for more. And we will do whatever it takes to work to get exactly what is needed to get the recovery going as soon and as is humanly possible. But look, there are hooking up a generator at some of these power stations is also not the easiest thing to do. We have a relationship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers where they're providing teams to help us get those generators hooked up in areas where they need to be. There's a lot of work and a lot of logistics and a lot of effort that is going into each and every one of those. But I will assure you, if the 60 that we have requested and expect to receive by tomorrow are not enough, we will either through the private sector or through our federal partners request more, and we will receive more.
Matt LaBonde with Mississippi Live Weather.
Hey, Matt.
Matt, can you unmute your mic, please?
I'm so sorry about that. Matt Law on Mississippi Live Weather. We have a lot of viewers here in North Mississippi who are quite literally freezing and facing single-digit temperatures for tonight and the next couple of days. What do you say to them? Because they've been blowing up my Facebook saying we need it quicker. What suggestions do you have?
Yeah, so I think what I would tell you is if you're without power and you don't have gas heat, we have warming stations open in approximately, we have 61 shelters and or warming centers open. Those are in 30 different counties. If you need to get out and get to a warming center, if you do not have available heat either through gas or a fireplace, then I would encourage you to go to one of those warming centers and where we do have power and where we do have heat, because you're right, the number of the temperature tonight is going to be very, very low throughout North Mississippi, and so that would be my recommendation. If the issue is concern about the temperatures tonight and the lack of heat, then utilize one of those resources to get to a warming center. Yes, sir.
Director McCraney, can you speak to the extent that the improvements in road conditions have improved over the last 24 hours? Like I know that, for example, Interstate 22 was backed up around Holly Springs for a portion of the day, but wreckers were finally able to get in a little bit early this afternoon, so traffic started moving again. So just like the major roadways in terms of getting improvements.
Yeah, I think Brad White talked about it, MDOT, the big systems that the state manages, the state duty roads and also the major highways, they've been able to put a lot of miles in to actually keep some one lanes open. But I'm The ones I'm worried about, the ones that cause me the worst problems are the secondary roads. And that's where you get off the highway, you exit, you see the gas station, you fill up, and then you've got about another 8 miles to go to your home. You're going up the hill or down the hill in Yalobusha and other counties that I've been through. That is where the huge problem is. The pine trees and all the trees that covered, where the sun does not hit is an icy patch, and that's where 911 services are being used. The wreckers are having to come pull them out because they got the people out. They took them to the hospital, and then they're having to deal with the wreckage to try to get that out of the way as well. So I'm not going to say conditions are improved to my to satisfy me at this time. Mother Nature still got that vote. She still got a lock on the temperature being down so low that the refreezing has already started throughout the state. And that's where the National Guard comes in, and this team that they're able to bring up there is, he's got airlift. I don't. I'll borrow his airlift. So that's an opportunity to get something to somewhere quickly and to actually be able to get the generators where they need to be and in a timely area. So for me to say that my crews that are out there, as well as Brad's, we're out there in it because we have to be in it, but this slow motion move, and I've not seen any of my vehicles with ice skates on them. You cannot get around when you have ice in the curves on those secondary roads. You have some great pictures, and I have some great pictures of Highway 22 and 55 going north, but that 2 miles off that highway, that's where it's getting dicey, and that is where people aren't traveling roads very much, and that's where the wrecks happen. That's where people get stranded, and that's where we're going to concentrate these teams that the Adjutant General's bringing on, the ability for a 10-ton vehicle to be a heck of a footprint they can make, and they can get through. He can drive on the right-of-ways of road and get out, and that's what they're built for, and we can have presence patrols and other things. So I think we're close. I said first 72 is on you yesterday. I said we were at 24, about 36, 48 more hours, and then there'll be that secondary roads will be clearing. But we're going to get out there as quick as we can. We got the teams ready. We're double checking on the generators that have been requested. Somebody asked, how many are on site? We pre-deployed generators 5 years ago to a lot of sites all over the state of Mississippi. So we were ahead of the game. And then we did our own personal contracts at MEMA. We have standby contracts, and we were having the rental companies drive in, hook them up to the patrons that needed it, those government entities that we knew theirs had failed and a new part had not come in and whatnot. So we're ahead of the game. But I don't like the game, but we're here to play it, and we're going to do everything that we can.
Let me just say that what makes this a little bit different is the fact that you're dealing with ice. You can't plow ice like you could if this was snow. And so our goal from the beginning with the interstates and the 4-lane highways have been to pre-treat it, to try to prevent as much freezing as possible, to try to have workers out there in a way to maintain a passable lane on these different routes. So if you look at 55 North, it's not going to look anything like it does in mid-July, and that's just because the substance is frozen onto the roadway. It packs up in a way that a snowplow is of no use against it. And so that's why we say that the best friend that we would have in this is what we hope to have over the next 3 days, which is some sunlight, and which would be temperatures that rise above freezing. And with that, some of that packed in ice will start breaking up and a slushy, become kind of slushy to where our equipment will be able then to push it out of the way, and we can start making things a little more passable than that.
One of the things that was said just reminded me sort of as we deal with the various things that pop up, and I think we have proven over many years that we plan for the worst and expect and pray for the best and expect somewhere in between. But just, Mac mentioned emergency 911. We've had to spend a great deal of time over the last several days as 911 services go out in particular counties, ensuring that we get those calls answered, and how do we work together and coordinate with various counties to make sure that everyone that has the ability to call and needs emergency services, that we at least can answer the call and see how we can get people out to help them. And obviously trying to help as many people as possible is our goal. Yes, sir.
2 questions.
Sure.
One, do you have any, you want to say anything about the 3 people that died, and there's any updates on the amount of deaths we've had in the storm?
Yeah, so we have 2 confirmed fatalities at this time, one in Hinds County, one in Tishomingo County. There are reports of a 3rd fatality that, at least, again, for it to get to me as a confirmed fatality, there's a lot of work that has to be done. There are reports of a 3rd, but we'll get to them at that point once we find out. We have a number of injuries that have occurred, at least 2 injuries caused by weather-related events. And the only thing I can say is we are praying for everyone that has been affected by this storm, and certainly those who have lost their life.
The Energy said in their press conference at 3 o'clock today that it's the hardest hit area in the state in terms of power line damage.
Yeah, obviously, Grenada has been hit pretty significantly. There's no doubt about that. I will tell you that Entergy does not provide service in places like Tishomingo County, in Alcorn County, in Tippah County, and Lafayette County. The latest numbers I have seen, at least by some of the rural electric authorities, is as many as 50 to 60% in those 3 northern counties are without power, and maybe even a higher percentage than that in certain areas of Lafayette County. And so we are working with the local emergency management coordinators in Grenada County. I am not aware of any unmet needs at this time that we have not yet been able to resource. Obviously, we've got assets very near there at Camp McCain, and so we will continue to deploy whatever is needed to try to help the people in Grenada County and beyond throughout the entire state. Well, look, it appears that's all the questions at this time. I sincerely appreciate all of you for being here. Getting the word out is incredibly important. And one other piece of advice that I just want to mention from Matt's question earlier is check on your neighbors, check on your friends, check on your family. Particularly if you have heat and you know that there is a shut-in down the road, one way or the other, and you don't know if they do or not, please reach out to them. Try to reach out and help your neighbors because these are very challenging times. And today and tonight is going to be very challenging simply because the temperature is going to get below 10 degrees again, and it did not get above freezing today at all. So again, check on your friends, check on your neighbors, call your family members. If they need help, reach out and let us try to help get them help. So with that, again, thank you, and keep praying for Mississippi. Thank you all, and God bless.